Morning, everybody. Chris here. How you doing? Welcome back to 30-Day Excel Analyst. This is day 29, and this session is all about how to make Excel work for you in your career. Now, if you've been following the program, thank you so much for following, and you've put in a lot of hard work. So now the question is, how can we make that hard work pay off? How can we get Excel to work for us in our career? And don't worry, your perspective might not be you want to be a freelancer. Many Excel freelancers out there, if you do want to be a freelancer, you're going to love this session. But I find a lot of people, they want to make a more subtle move in their career. They want a more analytical emphasis in their existing role. And if you fall more into that category, you're also going to love this session. We're going to go through the 4 seasons, as I call them, the 4 stages of really making Excel work in your career. And I'll share just a few of the mistakes that I've made over the years, hopefully for your benefit. So big welcome back to the program. This is 30-Day Excel Analyst, of course, and we are aiming to transform your analytical skill set in 30 days. I can see the live squad in, so leave me a question in the chat, guys. I can be a bit more interactive with this session. We've only got one slide. We're going to talk through it. So leave me some questions, the live guys. I'll deal with those at the end of the session. And if you're watching on replay, a big welcome to you too. Leave me a comment below. I'm very happy to get back to you there. And we're on session 29. So session 30 tomorrow. It is 30-Day Excel Analyst. So hopefully you've done 30-minute sessions in 30 days. Make sure you leave me a comment below if you're in that category. That is a fantastic effort. But I would love for you to join me live in the session tomorrow. I want to speak to a few of our graduates, if you like, from the 30-Day Excel Analyst program, some of the live squad, maybe. So we'll sort this out in the session tomorrow. But if you want to send me an email beforehand, info@tigersolutions.co.uk, info@tigersolutions.co.uk. I will look out for you in the session and we'll get you into the session. It's a fairly straightforward process using the software that we've got here, but it would be great to speak to people tomorrow. Session 30, the last session in 30-Day Excel Analyst. So let's get into this one, how to make Excel work for you in your career. And as I said, broadly speaking, I think this falls into 4 stages or 4 seasons. And it's likely you're probably in this first stage, which is realization. We're going to talk about that in a second. But for each of these stages, we're going to talk about 4 things. We're going to talk about the mood. What does it feel like to be in this stage? That's the best way for you to situate which stage, which season you're in. You know, how does it feel? It's not always positive, as we'll see as we go through. What's the goal for this stage? So something very specific that allows you to progress, that allows you to move on to the next stage. You can see for each stage, we've got a very specific goal that you can pursue. We're going to talk about content. So an assumption I'm making here is you're going to use content as your business development strategy, if you like, because if you want to make yourself available as an Excel analyst, you know, even if you want to just do more analytical work in your organization, you've got to have this little business development function. You've got to be building your profile of your analytical work in order to get more people interested in your analytical work. I suggest you do that using content. Can be scary. Creating online content, certainly to begin with. We're going to talk through it today. Quite straightforward in terms of content creation relative to creating other types of content. Creating Excel tutorial content or content about Excel, we'll get into the details later. Fairly straightforward. So I'm suggesting you do that if you really want Excel to work for you in your career. And then we'll talk about progression. So you get to what stage, and then how do you move on to the next stage? So we're going to talk about these 4 things for our 4 seasons, which are realization, weekend warrior, having an evolving side hustle, and then moving into full-timer mode, which is about where I am in my career. So realization, I really enjoy doing this. Could I do it for somebody else? And then you have this feeling of elation. So I would guess a lot of people watching this session, probably most people watching this session, are in a realization phase, and it comes with an emotion, which is I enjoy doing Excel work. I love it combining those formulae together into Excel models. I love creating a dashboard using slices and pivot tables. I loved automating that process with Excel VBA. That for me is my personal punch the air highlight, being able to automate processes. All of those things we've covered right here on this program. The link is in the video description below to the playlist. All of those things we cover on this program, but at least one of those things you should be deriving pleasure from that. It feels great to automate a process. It feels great to create this dashboard. It feels great to link formally together in this model. So it comes from an emotion primarily. Now, if you're not feeling that emotion, then you need to revisit the idea altogether. Is an Excel career for you? So let's deal with some of the downsides of trying to transition into this Excel career. Firstly, you've got to really love it. I think it does come from the heart. Within your hearts, it's a heart thing rather than a mind thing, rather than a logical thing. If it feels great doing Excel work, I love Excel work. I think because I love engaging with people and helping people, and Excel for me is a means to an end to do that. But when you see the impact of the work and what it has in real life, the impact in real life, it makes me really want to do it. And that's the same 10 years later. I started my Excel career about 10 years ago. But yeah, you've got to be committed to this. And because there's definitely a downside here. There's something you're risking. It's up to you to decide the direction you want your career to go in. And there's many people who have gone down this path, wanted to be an analyst, maybe tried to set up as a freelancer. It's not easy. It's not necessarily going to work. So you've got to decide, if it doesn't feel great, is it the right thing to do? You've got to deal with that first. And if you haven't had that moment of realization, you've got to be honest with yourself. Excel might play a role in your career. It plays a role to a greater or lesser extent in the career of most professionals, but maybe it's not quite for you, because as we'll see as we go through, there's going to be many, many challenges to get over to really make it work for you in your career. So have you had that punch the air moment? If not, you've got to think about that. Right. The goal at this stage is to do one unpaid project for somebody. Very simple. We're going to do one unpaid project. Okay. Why is it important to do a project? You might say, but Chris, I'm great at Excel. I can do XLOOKUP. I've learned Lambda. Right. 30-day Excel Analyst is about Excel in context. I'm just going to be direct with you. No BS here. I don't care how good you are. Your technical stuff is in Excel. Yeah. I don't care. Okay. That's because Excel is a means to an end. Yeah, it's deeply embedded in organizations and the lives of professionals. So it's not about how good you are at Excel. It's how good are you at making people's lives easier at Excel. Excel is not a crossword. Yeah, I quite like doing the crossword. My mum loves doing the crossword. She teaches me how to do those cryptic crosswords, those really weird cryptic clues. Yeah. And then you solve it and crossword is finished. We know from last week, Excel is not a problem and solution thing. Yeah. We do organizational interventions all the time. This morning, I've been talking to customers about organizational interventions. Nobody's saying to me, how are you going to make that formula work? How are you going to automate this process? I was literally having a conversation just before this stream, and my customer saying to me, listen, I need to have a awkward conversation with my managing director because we're looking to get budget for this project. So I'm talking to my customer. How can I support that conversation? What evidence can I provide of the impact of the project, whatever it might be? Okay. So I'm saying the work of the analyst, the Excel analyst, is deeply embedded in the context of business, of organizations, of everyday life. That's why you got to do a project. Yeah. And if you're saying to me, well, Chris, I don't really like the idea of doing a project. I prefer downloading your files and solving them. Great. I get many emails from people who do that and then give me critique on how I could have done it better. Great. Fantastic. Good for you. I'm living in the real world here. Yeah. I want to make people's lives easier. So that means you've got to do projects. And a project means it's somebody else's problem that you're trying to help them with. Yeah. So suddenly you're in a completely different mindset. It's not a technical mindset. It's a project management mindset. It's a consultant mindset. Remember last week, the title of the week was From Analyst to Consultant. And we spoke about how the consultant mindset is much, much more focused on the practical stuff. So even if you do an unpaid project, you're going to have to do all the things that the consultant does. You're going to have to go through that problem structuring. What's this project about? What's the business about? How does the business create value? Business model canvas, rich picturing, all of those things might help. You're doing a project, and then you're going to have to deal with the more practical project stuff as well. Yeah, now we're talking about an unpaid project, but even if your project is unpaid, you're going to have to deal with expectations. What are timescales for this project? Can I expect it next week, next month, next year? What's the output for this project? Is it an Excel file? Is it a dashboard? Is it a button that automates a process? Is it a video resource to show them how to use the file? Is it a PDF to show them how to use the file? What are the outputs for this project? So you're having to deal with that practical project management stuff. This is why it's so important for you to do a project. And I'm saying the first one can be unpaid. Now, as I said at the beginning, my assumption is that you're going to do content, okay? Big question for any business, and I invite you to think of yourself as a business, even if you're only interested in applying an Excel in your organization. You need that business development function. How are people learning about your business? Word of mouth, referrals, fantastic, but you'll need to accelerate it a little more than that. A great way to do that is with content. I'm doing content now, putting high quality, hopefully, content on YouTube. So you got to think about this. Yeah. If you don't want to do content, I would struggle with a strategy that doesn't involve doing content. So it's scary doing content. So let's deal with one thing. The main reason people don't do content is they think I have to be an expert. I have to be an expert to do content. And guys, you can see I'm not really an expert in Excel. Might sound silly, I don't know, but technically I'm not. I'm not up to date with the latest formulae. I'm not up to date with all the latest stuff in Excel because I don't really care about that stuff because I recognize Excel as a means to an end. I still do content. How many? 90,000 subscribers, 8 million views, active on other platforms, membership program. This all comes from content. So you don't need to be an expert. Some of the best content that I watch online is not to do with expertise. It's to do with someone's journey learning something, somebody's journey learning something. Yeah. So in Excel, that could be you've learned a new formula. You're going to do just a little video about it. It could be you've learned a new formatting technique. You're going to do a little video about it. It doesn't have to be perfect, curated, expert style content. The content could be, this is my process of learning Excel. That could be the title of your YouTube channel. My process of learning Excel. You know, who knows? So that's the first kind of a misconception. The thing that people get wrong about content, you don't have to be an expert to do it. Now, let's talk about platforms quickly. So YouTube is one a very popular platform, of course, but you don't have to do YouTube. There are things like TikTok these days, where you're doing vertical video rather than this kind of video that we're doing here. TikTok and YouTube Shorts, absolutely massive. What about audio? What about doing a podcast? You know, a 15-minute spreadsheet podcast. Who knows? Could be interesting. So what I'm suggesting you do at this stage is try to do some experimentation. Look at some different platforms. Could you try a little YouTube video? Could you put a little video on LinkedIn? Could you do a little Instagram visual? So these visuals that are my slides, I turn these into content. I put them on Twitter and put them on Facebook. Yeah. So it doesn't have to be video content. You could create visuals like this. You could create audio content. You could create video content with no face. You could have a no face YouTube channel. No one actually knows who you are, but you could just put audio over the videos you see. So experimentation, what are the different options here? Because you can see through my whole strategy, the strategy that I'm recommending here, you do need to be doing content. So progression from the realization stage is there's one project successfully completed. So that means you've understood the customer requirements, although they're not paying. You've done the implementation, you've given them the file, and they're using the file. They're probably coming back to you with questions. They'd like to do more work. That's great. But that project is successfully completed according to the definition of completion that you gave at the beginning of the project. That's the project management skill, of course. And there's some idea of a content plan. We just spoke about that. So realization phase. Let me know in the chat, guys. Are you in the realization phase? And to the live squad, I'm very happy to deal with some questions as they come in. So pop your questions in the chat, and as I read them, I'm very happy to discuss those. So moving on to the Weekend Warrior. Weekend Warrior is a slightly bigger commitment. It's a bigger commitment in terms of time. It's a bigger commitment kind of emotionally as well. So we're moving on from a sense of possibility. Could I do this for something else? We've had a bit of validation. We've done our unpaid projects. And then we're thinking, I just got paid to do Excel. This is the mood we're trying to get into anyway as the weekend warrior. So we've already done a project. We didn't get paid for it. That doesn't matter at this stage because we've got this broad view. We understand how it fits into our strategy. Now we're trying to do a project, get paid for it, and have that punch the air moment. Money is in the bank. We're getting paid for doing Excel. So our goal at this stage is to do one paid project for somebody. So who might that be? You know better than me, and you've got to be building your profile in whatever communities you're active in. Now, let's talk about possible communities. The most obvious community is your workplace. Now, I am kind of assuming, maybe unfairly there, that you're full-time employed. I've said many times on the channel and through this program, you want to be the Excel guy. The Excel guy, yeah, and I mean guy in a non-gender specific way. So when someone has a problem with Excel, oh, you want to get in touch with Jim. You know, Jim, he's over in accounts. He's great at Excel. You want to go and talk to him. You want to get in touch with Jaya Prakash. If you've got an Excel project, the community doesn't have to be your organization. It could be, who knows, could be your church, could be your sports team. Your community could be your family. Could be your family. You'll be surprised how much Excel work you can get. We're coming up in the Western culture. We're coming up to Thanksgiving and Christmas. You can get yourself a paid project at the Thanksgiving table. Yeah. You'll be surprised how many people are having problems with Excel. So becoming the Excel guy, this is how you can get projects. You've already done an unpaid project for somebody. So that's generating some positive word of mouth. Yeah. If that person's using the spreadsheet in the real world, people will be saying, oh, did you do this yourself? And they'll be answering the questions. They can say, no, Kieran did it for me. And that's positive word of mouth. Yeah. So we're looking to convert one of those leads, if you like, into a paid project for somebody. And this is our qualification to move on to the next phase. Let's talk about content at this phase. So now we're in experimentation. I recommend 2 platforms, and I recommend creating 10 pieces of content on each platform. Now that sounds like a lot, okay? But it depends what kind of videos you're doing. And we've got to be thinking in terms of a content creation machine. A content creation machine. At this stage, at the Weekend Warrior stage, we want to start thinking about infrastructure. Now, in terms of content, infrastructure means having a content making machine. So when we're thinking about content in our company, we're not thinking about one piece of content. We don't talk about one YouTube video or one Twitter post. We talk about a whole series. In this case, 30-day Excel Analyst. We've created 30 YouTube videos, but we've also created hundreds of pieces of online content from this for other platforms. I do 60-second videos on Instagram. I put these slides on Twitter and LinkedIn. So you need to think about a content creation machine. So it's not, can I do one piece of content? It's how can I create multiple pieces of content? So how are you going to do that? You need to think about the process that you go through to create content. And the great thing about creating content is it gets you into this reinforcing loop. Yeah, you create a bit of content. Hopefully you get some reaction to that content. That makes you feel great. You get your dopamine high. Be careful of that. I've burnt out many times because of this, but that gives you ideas for the next piece of content. So you can get into this reinforcing loop where content you create, you get good feedback from it. That makes you want to create more content. So a content making machine. So we need to think holistically, think at the systems level. What's the machine that we can create to create content? I've got a very simple process here. I use a piece of software called StreamYard. I do my slides. I write the copy. I email the copy to the list. We do the thumbnail. We put all this together. We have a process that we work through for each piece of content. Your process when you get started will be much simpler than that. But thinking about a content creation machine. Talking of infrastructure, we want to, if we're getting paid, now I'm not a financial advisor, clearly, you need to get your own financial advice. And one tip I'm going to give you straight away is get an accountant. If you're thinking of doing this kind of thing, then you need to be thinking about infrastructure, getting paid. That's going to have tax implications, particularly if you're in a full-time job, you've never done things like a tax return. Go and get an accountant. My advice is just get one. Don't worry about reading up on it yourself. You need to know the main features of the situation. You don't need to know the detail. An accountant will sort all of that out for you. And I generally find it's not that expensive to get very good advice. They can help you with setting up the infrastructure. Yeah, various ways to do this. If you're in the UK, you can be self-employed. You can have a limited company. Other ways to do it as well. As I said, I'm not advising any of those. I'm not a financial advisor. An accountant will be able to help you with that kind of thing. But the important thing is you're getting set up for success. You've got a process to create content, a content creation machine, and you've got the infrastructure, which could be a limited company. That's how we do it here at Tiger. Though it's a longer story than that, I won't bore you with it. The infrastructure is in place, and the progression from this phase is the infrastructure is being built anyway. And the progression from this phase is the project is being paid and you're feeling content confident. What I say content confident, you're beginning to build confidence with creating content. Good. So get your comments in, guys. Happy to do with some comments as we go. Having a content plan for 12 months makes it a lot easier. You could do that in Excel. Absolutely. Guys, I won't go into it now, but there's various ways for you to get ideas for videos. Google provides all kinds of useful information. You don't have to pay for this. There's various websites that will help you generate content ideas. Absolutely, Kieran. Having a content plan in place, 100%. Tina says, how did you land your clients from viewers to hiring you as a freelancer? Yeah, great questions. Great question, Tina. So you've got to make sure your viewers understand how to get in contact with you. It could be an Instagram DM. All of our inquiries tend to come via email. And then from there, you're in problem structuring mode. You're in consultant mode. Once someone emails in, says, we might potentially have a project. Here's a little bit about the context. That's when we get into consultant mode. So that's where we're thinking rich picture. We're thinking business model canvas. We're thinking business analytics methodology. And you can go back to last week to understand how to work through those. Does it mean you have to sit your client down and say, no, 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 the first thing we do is a rich picture? That's not what I'm saying, but that's the mindset you need to get into. And I've got to say, that's one of the best parts of the job. When people email in, this happened last week. We had a big multinational email in. They want to have a meeting. That is, just a really enjoyable part of the job. And Tina says, absolutely, I love the advice. 10 bids on each platform, accountability. Absolutely. You've got to have a clear target, I think. And remember, Tina, it doesn't have to be videos. It could be 10 PowerPoint slides. Could be 10 pieces of audio content. It could be 10 Instagram reels. I don't know. I'm not up with the latest advice. Could be 10 TikTok videos. Whatever your content machine is set up to create efficiently. Hi, Marek. How are you doing? Welcome. So moving on to the side hustle. So here, we're committing quite a lot of time now. And you can see in the video description, I've written a description of each of these stages. It might start feeling a bit tense. We're generally in a honeymoon phase, but you're going to start feeling some tension because your side hustle is going to be taking up quite a lot of time. And you're probably in a situation where you're still doing some kind of full-time job. So thinking about the emotions of the situation, I'm dealing with this all the time, the balance between these two, the elation, the punch the air moments from doing Excel projects and helping people. But then the stress that comes with that, project management, time pressure, financial pressure, all of those go into the pot and they create this kind of mixture of emotions. You'll learn to manage that over time. And the fact you're feeling that mixed emotion. So when you get a new project for us, it's like, great, we've got a new customer. Now we've got to start delivering the project. Yeah, now the work starts. So very quickly, you're into work mode. So it's not always punch the air, but that's normal, isn't it? That's life, that's work. So the emotional, the general feeling changes a bit. Okay, so the goal here, project and content creation infrastructure in. So that content creation machine, it's looking strong, it's working, and the financial infrastructure, the administrative infrastructure around your business doesn't need to be complicated, but it's there. You can receive money, you can send out invoices. You're confident that your tax affairs are going to be sorted. Get an accountant to help you do that. That infrastructure is in place. Don't delay that. It's easier than you think. Get it in place, then it's out of mind. You can concentrate on delivering value for your customers. Content at this point, 30 plus pieces on one platform. They say on YouTube, 30 is like a golden number for the number of videos you need on YouTube for your channel to actually start taking off. And for you to start getting a small following, for you to start getting what we call organic reach. An organic reach means the platform is showing your content to other people just because the previous people who've watched your content have had a good experience. They've watched a lot of the videos, they've liked the videos, they've watched other videos. So whatever platform you're on will recommend that content to somebody else, because ultimately the platform just wants to keep people on the platform. So they'll recommend good videos. And they say on YouTube, for that to happen, you have to have 30 pieces of content. You have to have 30 videos, although clearly there's some exceptions to that, but that's a good general rule. So progression, when you're in the side hustle stage, 5 projects complete and the content machine purring away, that content machine working. Good. So at this point as well, I didn't put on the slide, but I did put in the text description below. This is a bit of a critical stage for me, the side hustle. You're probably going to have to make a bold move here at some point, because your little business is growing, your side hustle is growing, and it's competing for time with your full-time hustle. Yeah, that's a contradiction in terms, but with your full-time job. So how do you manage that? And if you're really strategic, hopefully with your line manager at work, you've been managing this already. So your line manager knows what you're doing. Your line manager recognizes there's benefits for them from what you're doing because you're building this analytical skill. And your line manager knows that one day, perhaps you're going to want to reduce your hours. Perhaps you're going to want to do a different role that involves less work. You're going to want to free up time in order to pursue your side hustle and in order potentially to take it up full time. So the move for the full timer, Excel's my job. I've come to terms with the pros and cons. Yeah, I've touched on some of the cons that you'll feel. You know, you're moving from just doing Excel to managing a business, doing all the admin work, the strategic work around that. I appreciate the pros and cons, and I still just about love it. That's life, isn't it, guys? They say in life, you've got to choose your struggle. It's Mark Manson who says this. You've got to choose your struggle. Life's going to be a struggle. What do you want to struggle with? Why not struggle with something that many, many professionals need help with and something that you feel inclined towards because you're good at it? How about that for a struggle? Yeah. So if you know it's the right struggle, and this is my struggle, this is our company's struggle, delivering data analysis education. I know there's a huge need out there for the real world. I get validation of that every day in videos and through client relationships and stuff. So it's my life. And that's the key. There's other things in life as well. It's not just your work, but that's the key thing. You get this underlying sense of fulfillment because what you're doing is intrinsically worthwhile. It's authentic. It's helpful. You can boil it down for this. Everybody wants to help somebody. Fundamentally, I think that's what humans want to do. You want to connect with people and you want to help. And in big organizations, I'm not an anti-corporate guy or anything, but in big organizations, you get kind of alienated from helping people. Yeah, because jobs get divided up and you'll end up doing lots of admin and stuff. So to be able to get back to the real source of value, to actually help somebody, you'll find that really life affirming. You know, I love that. Fundamentally in our business, we just help people. We help people on YouTube. We help people with their data analysis problems. So that returning yourself, I can't quite find the words, but returning yourself to just this basic thing of helping. If you've been working in a big organization, you might find that incredibly energizing. And, you know, I certainly have, and I certainly do. Anyway, so general fulfillment and wanting to continue. And then in terms of content, then that content machine is ticking over 100 plus pieces of content. And then progression from here. Well, I'm not sure because this is the stage we're at. But now you've got to start thinking about scale. Does that mean taking people on, building a small team? Does that mean monetizing your online content with courses and memberships? Who knows? You know, this is the stage that we're at now. So guys, this is the best information I can give you. This is pretty much the path that I've followed your Excel career, the 4 seasons, realization, weekend warrior, side hustle, and full timer. Okay, to the live squad, thanks so much for watching. Once again, If you want to appear in tomorrow's session, you're very welcome to join me live. Email me info@tigersolutions.co.uk. I might share the link in the session tomorrow. It's the last session, guys, for 30-day Excel Analyst. So we'll do a quick overview of the course, and then it would be lovely to talk to some of our amazing graduates here at 30-day Excel Analyst. But any further questions, guys, to the live squad, now is the time to get your questions in. And as I said, if you watch on replay, you watch to the end of the session, thank you so much. Leave me a comment below. I'm very happy to give you as much advice as I can on your specific situation. Okay, so HD tuning in. A little late today, but caught up now. Thanks again, Chris. The man, the myth, the legend. I'll take that. Roger had to get going, but it's good to see you. Who else has tuned in today? I think we've said hello to everybody. Jim tuned in. 4 a.m. over in the Illinois. Fantastic. Dave tuned in as well. How you doing, Dave? Hope you get better soon, Dave. Good to see you. And that's everybody tuning in as far as I can see. Okay, so any final questions, guys? Happy to deal with them. So Kieran says, my latest blog, I'm not even going to look at tidying it up and driving traffic until I have 100 pieces of content. So Kieran, I think you are in marketing. I believe you mentioned that earlier on in the program. Until you have 100 pieces of content. Absolutely. So getting to grips with the scale of content creation, the order of magnitude that you have to get to with content creation is difficult. Yeah. But I'm saying, guys, it's just a question of practice, and it's a question of thinking about creating a system to create content rather than creating a single piece of content. As you practice, you get yourself into that positive reinforcing loop where you're putting content out, people are liking it, you're getting positive feedback, you're getting ideas, and then you create another piece of content on that basis, get into that positive reinforcing loop, and then it's a lot easier than you think to get to 5, 10, 30, 100 pieces of content. We've got somebody in our member community, Members Monday, has built a YouTube channel himself, and is up to, it's got over 10,000 views. Already, and he's picking up projects from that channel, so very much in the side hustle phase. Tina says, could you tell us more about your clients and what kind of projects do you do, costs and revenues? I can give you as much information as I can, but it's true to say that the projects are very varied. So talking about the clients, the kind of people that we work with, at one end, we've got what I'd call high net worth individuals. So these are often traders. They do Forex trading or sports trading. So it's just a single person. They want to automate processes. They want to get analysis. We've picked up those clients through the YouTube channel over the years. So you're talking from single individuals all the way up to global corporations. So what I call multinational. We work with 3 or 4 multinationals. Got a meeting with one this afternoon as well, a possible new customer, and then everything in between. And we have, public organizations, schools, charities, private organizations, so smaller companies and startups. The majority of those have come through the content, have come through YouTube. So if you're thinking, Chris, that sounds really complicated, just simplify it, and you can assume that they're going to come through your content, those customers. So it really is quite a diverse picture for us. That's because everybody's using Excel. It's deeply embedded in a whole range of organizations out there. So there's lots of opportunity for you there. But just on this point, something I think we haven't succeeded at over the years is creating a more specific and distinctive offering aimed at a particular sector or aimed at a particular need or a particular group of individuals. Now, we do have Excel VBA for football traders, so we have a specific trading program for people who use football data. But there's a lot of markets out there, and Kieran will know about this, being a marketer, creating a specific offering aimed to fulfill a specific need. So what I think Excel for teachers, I've never got around to creating a specific offering for teachers, but so many teachers out there are struggling with Excel. So could you find a particular need and then target that need? How would you find that need? By creating content, getting eyes on your content, and people saying, I want to know more about this. I want to know more about this. And that will help you find those little niches out there. Very good. And in terms of cost and revenue, I mean, I don't usually get into the conversation about how much to charge because it really is quite complicated. But I would say you can find how much an Excel freelancer charges in your country. It does vary a lot from one country to the next. But you can find that. You can go to a freelancer website, people put projects up there, we're offering to pay this much. That gives you a sense of what the market rate is, but should you charge the market rate? We don't charge the market rate. Yeah. And you've got to bear in mind, the more you charge, yes, it's more difficult for people to pay, but it works the other way as well, because the more you charge, the higher the perceived value of your service as well. And do you even want to work with people who are worried about the cost of the project and are going to try to negotiate you down? Listen, I'll save you a few years. You don't want to work with those people. Okay. You want to work with people who are not too cost sensitive, who are in charge of a good sized budget and are happy to invest. They understand the impact of the work. They don't have a transactional impact to projects. They see the strategic long-term value of your relationship. Very good. Fantastic, guys. Okay, we will be back tomorrow. It's going to be the final session, 30-day Excel Analyst. Let me know if you want to appear in the stream. I'd love to see you there. info@tigersolutions.co.uk. Shoot me an email, info@tigersolutions.co.uk. Enjoyed that session, guys. Thanks so much for the comments live. Leave me a comment below. I'll get back to you there. Take care. See you tomorrow at the same time, same place for the last session, 30-day Excel Analyst.